उसका कनेक्ट नहीं हो रहा है अभी। चला जा रहा है। Good morning to all the participants of this webinar. Today, the topic of this webinar is building harmonious and resilient built environments. The role of architecture professionals, right? So this webinar is organized by and conducted by Amity University, Rajasthan, and the department which is conducting this particular webinar is Amity School of Architecture and Planning. This webinar will be moderated and conducted by Dr. Anurag Varma. Dr. Anurag Varma is Director of Amity School of Architecture and Planning. So how this webinar will flow to all the participants of this webinar. I'll just take 2 minutes or 3 minutes to brief you about Amity University. and then Dr. Anurag Varma will take it over, and he will go through this particular topic of role of architecture professionals in this world, right? And then we will go for that question and answer round of session. So all the participants who are in this webinar, please, keep your questions ready, right? So once Dr. Anurag Varma has finished off with his presentation, we will take up the question and answers, and we will try and answer all your programs. Um, just to brief you about, Amity University. Amity University is world's largest educational group, and we have 11 university campuses in India. When we talk about university campuses, these are not offices, but these are full-grown university campuses. And we have 12 campuses abroad, whether it's United States, United Kingdom, or other countries. We have all these campuses over there. So any student who takes admission in Amity University, say Jaipur, they have the options of going to any of the Amity University campuses across the world, right? So this is one of the largest education group, as I said. We have been in this industry for the last more than 25 years, and this Amity University Jaipur campus, when we talk about, it's a 150-acre university campus. So all the students can always go to our website, amity.edu/Jaipur, and do a 3D campus tour also. So it's a wonderful campus, right, to be in. And our department, Amity School of Architecture and Planning, this is approved by Council of Architecture. So we have two programs over here. One is Bachelor of Architecture, and another one is Bachelor of Interior Designing, right? So this is what I wanted to brief you about Amity University and the programs that we are having over here. And now I will request Dr. Anurag Varma, sir, to please take over the presentation. Sir. Sir, I would request you to please start sharing your screen.
Yes, I've just done this. Start sharing. Yeah. I think it's just taking some time.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are very much audible. Please go ahead.
All right. A very good morning to all the participants of this webinar. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you all to take out some time to be present in this turbulent time. I expect you are all well and you continue to be safe. I've been briefly introduced. My name is Dr. Anurag Varma, and I am the professor and director at Amity School of Architecture and Planning at Amity University. I do have a total professional experience of about 30 years. I've been active as an academician, researcher, and also have had considerable experience of professional practice, wherein I've been heading SBUs in corporate firms. I've had my own practice for more than 10 years as well, and have a well-rounded idea of the subject of architecture. What is surprising is that isn't it more in such unprecedented times that we possibly decide to think about what a harmonious and resilient built environment is, and what is our role in there. So this brief interlude wherein we do have some time to reflect, makes us think as to what we can contribute as architecture professionals to making our surrounds, our building environs harmonious and resilient. Once I'm saying building environments, I mean places and spaces where we can spend time, where we usually spend our time, which offer us safety, which creates positivity in our life. And it could be at any scale. It could be a village, it could be a town, it could be a city, it could be a metropolis. I'm going to deliberate upon the role of the professional in creating livable spaces today. So the brief structure of the presentation is that I'll just briefly explain, because I understand there are a lot of people who are not much acquainted or initiated into the subject, and or also in wanting to know about the subject. What is the built environment? How do we perceive it? And also try and to communicate that they've been changing over a period of time. I'll be doing most of the presentation through sketches so that you can see and possibly you can grasp more over there. The second part of that would be to understand the role of architecture professionals. How is it that architecture professionals can contribute into this? So for that, there are 3 or 4 small steps. One is that we'll briefly understand what architecture is all about. We'll be doing it mostly through the images and certain quotations by some very famous architects. The second is what is the purpose of architecture? What does it intend to do? Third is how do we practice a brief idea of what the professional architecture entails, profession of architecture entails. And the last is that what are the challenges? So all these 4 points seen together will make us appreciate as to what exactly is the role. And then the third section of this would be looking at the career options for architects. Basically, what we are doing is that we are helping people. We are helping people to. Hello, is it
Hi, sir.
audible?
Vikas this side, sir.
Yes.
Sir, would request you to please stop your screen
Okay.
and start sharing your screen with the application window.
Stop sharing.
And again, you need to click on the start sharing and on the application window itself.
Was it audible till now or no?
Yeah, it's audible, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm not seeing this application key still.
When you click on the start sharing screen, sir, there will
Yes.
be a 3 different option. One is the entire share your entire screen. The second one will be the application window.
Is it okay now?
We can't see your
Hello.
screen, sir.
You can't screen. I've done that now. Can you?
Yeah, we can see now. You can just open your presentation now.
Okay. Yes. Uh, I'm sorry for the interruption. So, is it okay now, Vikas?
Is this your PPT, sir? Which you're
Yes.
showing here?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Observation settlements in the past and how they.
Hmm?
I think this is the Word file, sir. We cannot see your PPT screen.
Can you see it now? You're seeing this?
No, sir.
Are you seeing a PPT?
No, sir. Can you please click again on the stop sharing option and you can just share your entire screen again.
Can you see it now?
We can see your screen, sir, but we cannot see your PPT right now.
Still not? No?
No, sir.
But the PPT is open now, and that's there on the screen. Are you seeing a blank screen over there?
No, we can see your screen where your mail ID is open and the Zoho window application is open, but we cannot see the PPT. Sir, I can see the option stop sharing. Just click on that and again share a screen with the option entire screen sharing.
You're now the presenter. Should I do start sharing now?
Yes, sir, start sharing. And then the window will appear where you need to share your entire screen and then you can open the PPT.
Are you able to see my screen?
Not now, sir.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see the PPT. You can just click on the full mode screen, sir. Right, sir. We can see the PPT. You can start your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll just take off from where we were. So very briefly, the first part would be looking at trying to comprehend that what the built environment is and what have been the transformations over a period of time. The second would be trying to understand our role as architecture professionals in making the built habitat or the built environment more harmonious and resilient. For that, there are four stages: understanding architecture, what it is, what is the purpose of architecture, what are the processes that help us to contribute in developing harmonious environments, and what are the challenges we face therein. Now, to do all this, we also need to comprehend as to what are the career options for architects, what are the roles, what are the kind of role plays which are envisaged through which we can contribute in making this happen, and then what are the kind of academic programs which help us to become an architect, right? So we'll go to the first thing now, that what is the built environment and how it has been transforming over a period of time. Uh, these are very recent history, about 100 200 years back, wherein we can see the kind of buildings and the kind of settlements that they are, and most of the towns were small. We do have examples in history where cities were large, but these are the kind of expressions which have been depicted through history. Over there, after that, we can see these different pictures. These are settlements in different areas. This is a hilly terrain. This is the kind of built environment that we develop that gets developed in a plain area. These are the kind of settlements which tend to get developed in a desert area, and these again are the ones which get developed in plain areas. And the whole idea is that these settlements are not static in nature. They are dynamic in nature. They keep on changing. And even if you've been staying in a certain place, you'll be able to observe that most of the time the physical change in the built environment is an inevitability. Once I'm saying built environment, we are saying places where we live, where we play, where we work, where we move, where we have relationships, and other things also. So everything where any kind of space wherein we do any activity or we don't do it even is a built environment. And these are at different scales. The built environments can be perceived. We can start imagining the built environments. That means we can very roughly translate it. We can start saying settlements or a habitat. The common names would be villages, towns, and cities. Once we are saying villages, towns, and cities, we are saying that there are different scales to that. There are different scales means that the size is different, the population is different, the kind of activities which happen in those particular spaces are different. As is visible on the left hand side, we've got an image wherein we've got a village scenario in a desert settlement. On the right hand side, we've got a village settlement which is there in a hilly terrain. Again, we are talking about different geographies and different territories. And we can observe that there are different kind of building expressions or building environments which are getting created. We can start looking at this. This is a desert environment. This is a kind of a community space. So all these things are different. The scale changes from a village to the towns. This is Banaras and this is Udaipur. These are different kind of settlements. This is much larger, has much larger population. The activities which happen in these towns are much more diversified than the activities which happen in a village. The villages are predominantly agricultural, as we all understand. And then there are mid-scale towns which are planned anew. On the left-hand side is Chandigarh, which we all know, or possibly don't know even, that it was a new town which was planned as the capital of Punjab. To the right-hand side, we've got Bhubaneswar. Bhubaneswar is an old city, had been an old city, but post-independence, it was planned as a new city. So these are towns which re-emerged post-independence in India. And these are the cities, multi-scalar. On the left is Mumbai and the right is Delhi. These are the kind of imageries which attract us, which beckon us to come over there. It offers a lot of opportunities, different varieties of spaces. Everything that happens is more or less on a larger scale, except that possibly the places where we stay and where we tend to live, they keep on getting compressed, which is ironical also. And roughly, to give an idea of the Indian villages, so that you are able to comprehend that what is happening in India is that possibly about 65% of the villages have a population of around less than 5,000 people. That means we are talking about very small settlements. And for the cities, surprisingly, on the other end of the spectrum, we've got cities which are scheduled to have a population of 1.5 crores, like Mumbai. The urban area, metropolitan area, is about 1.8 crores at this time. And there are 10 towns in India which boast of a population of more than 30,000 people. So 30 lakh people. So if 30 lakh people are staying somewhere, you can imagine what is the kind of expanse of the city. So what is it that is common to all these things? We have looked at towns which are happening there in the mountains, the towns which are developed in the deserts, towns which are developed in coastal areas, villages, small settlements, new towns. We've looked at state capitals and we've looked at metropolises. What is common to all these times and all these places? We've looked at the older civilizations also. The most common things which is prevalent everywhere are the buildings. And the architecture professionals are the people who are mandated to create such buildings. The professionals who do this are known as architects. Now, what is the role of architecture professionals? To create harmonious and resilient built environments. By resilience, we understand that the environments have to be safe, they have to be participatory, they have to be safe basically. That means they develop a kind of resistance against any onslaught which is expected in a civilization. The kind of disasters could be one of the kind that we are facing right now, the pandemic, COVID-19. The others could be tsunamis, the others could be earthquakes, others could be flood. The entire idea of resilience is around how to make the settlement safe when threatened by external agencies. So, how do we understand what is architecture actually? Architecture, there are different things which constitute the definition of architecture. It's basically a trait, a discipline, a profession, an idea which encompasses many ideas. So, what we are going to do is that we are going to bring things together to try and comprehend that what architecture is. So, in this particular slide, we are talking that architecture is both the process. Process means the way, the method, and the product. Product means whatever comes out. That means we do some design. There are some people who construct. There are some people who supply the material. There are a lot of people who are engaged in the construction process. This entire thing is the process of creating architecture, and what gets created, that means the building, is a product of planning, designing, and constructing. So architecture, this is a dictionary meaning. Architecture is both the process and the product of planning, designing, and constructing buildings. And to comprehend, it's also understood as science and art of building, because there's a lot of debate in professional domain that whether it's a science or whether it's a art. I guess you all can very well understand that if we are doing buildings which are 20 stories tall, we are doing buildings which are 80 stories tall, then there is a lot of technology which gets into it. If we are doing buildings which are networked, we are doing buildings which are talking to each other. We've got buildings that are centrally air conditioned. We've got buildings which are centrally controlled at one place. We've got louvers which adjust themselves. Then all these things mean that there's a lot of technology involved. And of course, that's not the only thing, because a building could only involve technology, but it could be dead without a spirit. That means there's also a very high extent of art which is involved. There's a sculptural aspect to that. There's a characteristic of utility to architecture. There's a characteristic of what is appropriate. Appropriate, we'll come to those things later, as to what is right in a particular mandate. Because you can see in a lot of places we do have these tall glass buildings which are universal almost, not exactly in response to the climate or context of a place. So what we are saying, architecture is also described as a science and art of building. What is also interesting is to understand that these are not only buildings. You can understand that in the material form of buildings, as a product, they're also perceived as cultural symbols. Cultural symbols, by cultural symbols, we understand that these are buildings which represent a culture. So these kind of buildings are very symptomatic of the kind of place they are in. So you can just look at the buildings and understand. To the left is Brasilia, in the center is Sydney Opera, and to the right is the Nest. I think the imagery is so strong, and you can realize it. This is the latest event, the Olympics in China. And I guess anyone who had been interested in the Olympics would recognize that we are talking about the Nest Stadium in China. And just to take this step further, try and see this. To the left is Eiffel Towers. At the center, we've got pyramids. To the right is Taj Mahal. We very simply have associations that Eiffel Tower belongs to France, these pyramids belong to Egypt, and the Taj Mahal belongs to India. So historical civilizations are also often identified with their architecture. In fact, we put up maps which will help you realize that possibly map is representative of civilization, of a country, that even if you don't recognize anything by a map, just by looking at a building, you can understand that it represents a civilization. That is the power of architecture. It has this unique ability to move people. You go at the Taj and it's an experience in itself, and because of that, it is just because of that experience that thousands of people come to Taj Mahal to experience what is the Taj. Now, there is one thing that makes architecture iconic. Iconic means that civilizations are known by that. But not all architecture tends to be like this. There are different scales of architecture we understand. So possibly we don't comprehend that the residence that I'm going to build for myself is going to represent civilization at a global level. at a global level. It can be a local level landmark. That means a very known piece of architecture, but maybe it's not there in the global level. So there are different scales and different contexts of architecture. So what we are going to do now is that we are going to share an image, and we are also going to write about. We are going to take it together with quotations of architecture. So the building which is shown on the left is a building designed by the architect, and to the right is what he thinks about architecture. So what we are saying is that for the purpose of architecture, if Richard Rogers has to say that it serves society and improves quality of life, we can look at the image to the left and try and understand that how is it getting done. So I won't be talking about it in detail, but these different ideas of different master architects will give you and these images together with that will give you a brief idea of what does the practice of architecture entail. So the first is that Richard Rogers, he's a very famous architect. He says that the main purpose of architecture is to serve society and improve quality of life. That means there is a utilitarian aspect to the architecture, and also that it improves the quality of life. Once we are saying improves the quality of life, possibly we can understand it. What happens if there is some kind of intervention in the city and our traveling is easier, or else a park gets maintained. So a park in our vicinity, if it gets maintained, possibly it adds to our quality of life, and so that we are able to go to the park, we can go stroll out in the evening. It has a good visual aesthetic, it regenerates the environment. So we are saying that the purpose of architecture also is to improve the quality of life. Another one is Professor B.V. Doshi. He's a very famous Indian architect, and this is his office. He says that design in Ahmedabad, Sangath, that design is nothing but a humble understanding of materials, a natural instinct of solutions, and respect for nature. You can see the way this building is done. It's all encompassed in nature. And if you look at the materials, they are very earthy materials as well. The bricks, they are exposed. They are made out of mud. So these are all earth materials. What he's saying that it's to design any architectural edifice or any architecture is just a matter of natural instinct and find the solution which gels together with the nature and the right material. So you can see that the way this building is so comfortably sitting in the environment that it is in. And it will surprise you possibly that it's going to be this building is more than 50 years old. The next, if you can make out, this is IIM at Ahmedabad, IIM Ahmedabad. This is done by a very famous architect by the name of Louis Kahn, who says that architecture is the thoughtful making of a space. You can see the building here, the way the spaces are created. Now look at this building. This is altogether different. It's done by a very famous American architect by the name of Frank Lloyd Wright. This building would be about more than 100 years old. And he says that the building is not the one that herbs the landscape, but which makes the landscape even more beautiful. So you can look at this, that it's situated within a forest and over a stream, and it's not really disturbing the beauty of the whole site, but is enhancing the aspect. So this is another area wherein architecture professionals can contribute. This is done by Charles Correa. This is the British Council Library in Delhi. For him, the architecture is a sculpture with the gestures of human occupation. So that means it's a large-scale sculpture with the difference that it's an inhabited structure. There are people staying in this, wherein the regular things keep on happening. The next one is, this one is by Laurie Baker, and it's in Kerala. And he says that vernacular, that means the local architecture or the traditional architecture also has, almost always have a lot of good answers to our problems. And the people have been a part in developing cities or villages by means of creating their own houses. Hafiz Contractor, a very famous architect who happens to practice more in the urban areas, he says that architecture should be based on the demand, the needs of the people. It should be honest to the demand and should respond to the spirit of time. That means if we are looking forward to something, let's say this building, it's it's kind of manifesting the aspirations of the future and should be addressing to the people. So if we start looking at the different ideas which have been touched, there are people who have talked about the kind quality of spaces, the people who said it should be we should trust our instinct in design so that the building is in adherence to the nature. There's a third idea, it says that it should enhance the nature. Fourth is that it's an inhabited sculpture. And one of the possibly simplest to understand statements is that architecture exists to create the physical environment where people live. So this is how it starts, with some idea, with some kind of a conceptual idea of how the building should be arranged so that the people can live harmoniously with the nature, with themselves, with their work, which provides for the work, play, and people together. Now, what are the different ways that architecture is practiced? We are very briefly touching upon the different phases of architecture. So, this is by RIBA, which is the Royal Institute of British Architects. They say that the first thing is that you need to have a brief. That means something similar to what the architect of his contractor had said, that it has to be sensitive to the requirement of the client, and also what Laurie Baker had to say, that it has to be appropriate and solutions have to be found. So the first stage is preparing a brief. Preparing a brief would imply, in case we are talking about an office building, that how many people would be staying over there, how many workstations would be required, how many cubicles would be required, what is the kind of idea which we want to communicate. Let's say if it's an advertising firm, then the emphasis would be on creativity. And in case it's a kind of a corporate setup wherein a lot of data processing is happening, then possibly the efficiency and the technology is what needs to be demonstrated. So that means the central idea is to try and comprehend what is the idea of what the building should be. So after this understanding, the phase two is the concept design, where this particular thing, the particular brief as to the requirements and the central conceptual idea gets translated into drawings, which at the stage 3 of schematic design starts getting converted into certain details of a building. Like at this level, it's only talking about this is the kind of storage required, these are the kind of workstations which will be required. Now here we start talking about there are cubicles required, then there are open workstations also which are required. And the next is that this will be a detailed design. What should be the size of this particular thing so that the people can sit around? What is the kind of furniture which would be required around this space? Then construct to build, as to doing the drawings so that the building can be constructed. And the last is the handover of the building to the client. So first stage is about preparation of the brief together with the client, the person who is initiating the project. The second is translating the brief idea into a conceptual design. Schematic design means putting all the requirements on a paper. The fourth is doing the detailed design. Fifth is releasing the drawings which are ready to construct with. The phase 5 is construction of the building, and the last stage is the handover and the closeout. So these are the very broad stages of producing architecture. Now, let's try and understand what this profession has to stand against. What are the challenges that the profession faces? There are numerous challenges. What we are going to talk about is only certain very generic ones. Like what is the kind of education infrastructure? And this is more specific to our country only. Look at the kind of hygiene which exists here. The transport infrastructure. The idea of this transport infrastructure is the juxtaposing, look at the kind of nala over which this ultra modern metro station is running, and the juggies which are around there. So what we are talking about is the contrast in the built environment, which doesn't let it remain harmonious. There are too many things happening here. To the right is housing, which again is a problem. To the right, we can see a very high-end housing society which is something that we call gated communities for the affluent, and right adjacent to that, just across a boundary wall, is a informal settlement, what we usually tend to call slums. And equity. There are places where we do have individual swimming pools for a family, and then we've got places which are public taps where many people have to bathe at one go. This is very briefly also about the problems, which is about the quality of urban services. This is a projection as to what are the kind of requirements through a research, which tells that we'll be having a lot of gap in the quality of urban services, wherein there is a possibility that we may have inadequate water supply, sewage, solid waste disposal system, affordable housing, mass transit systems of private transportation. So these are the challenges that we tend to face as architects. Now, the issue is that how do we contribute? How can we contribute to this? We do have these challenges. We know that what architecture encompasses as an idea, and then what is it in us? What are the kind of job profiles that we can take, and what are the kind of role plays which we can have so that we are able to contribute to development of our junior settlements? So now we are assuming that we are professional architects, and we are going to talk about the different kind of role plays that an architect who's graduated can have to contribute to the built environment. So this is about the design architect. The architect primarily as a designer of buildings. Designer means he designs the building, does all those four things. The first stage: prepares a brief, prepares a conceptual design, prepares the schematic design, does the design development and construction development, and then the work is given out to a construction agency and handed over to the client. So first four stages needs the involvement of an architect. There are people who are involved in design, and the person who is involved in the design is a design architect. And then we do have certain people who need to coordinate. Like if there are multiple buildings, there is architecture is collaborative. We will be coming to that also. We need to look at the electrical parts and the electricity to a building. We need to look at the water supply to a building. We need to see the IT infrastructure in a building, the air conditioning of a building, which involves a lot of technology and different proficiencies and different professionals who contribute to a building. Architect happens to coordinate all those services together and incorporate all that in its design. So the design manager also has a very important role to do to see that the coordination between the design architect and all the service providers in terms of technology are in sync. That means there are no conflicts. And these kind of job opportunities have wide openings in the profession. One is the corporate consulting sector, in the multidisciplinary area, large firms like AECOM who are doing multiple projects in India, and there's a plethora of firms like these. The government sector also tends to employ architecture, Ministry of Urban Development, the local development authorities. Every district, every large town does have a district authority like Delhi Development Authority or Haryana Urban Development Authority, Rajasthan Housing Board, Gujarat Gift City, different agencies in the government sector only. Apart from that, there are public sectors, central public sectors we are talking about. NBCC is National Building Construction Company, RITES, NTPC, WAPCOS, EIL is Engineers India, HSCC is Hospital Consultancy. Real estate developers are a big, real estate developers is a big area which employs architects, wherein they are able to contribute in terms of design architects and design managers, construction companies also, and the local development bodies. Now, most of these agencies who employ people, different persons, I've explained it very briefly here. So for the next, I'll be only explaining the ones that are new in this particular gamut. The second role is for the landscape architects, which looks more at the man-building and nature interface. So we can look the kind of image which depicts, this is all designed. Landscape means through natural elements, which adorns the building, which is where the building is setting. So there are a lot of large-scale landscape consultancy and multidisciplinary corporate consulting groups also tend to employ these architects, landscape architects. Usually there's a master's program here also, which is a master's in landscape architecture. After that, people are qualified as landscape architects. Urban planners, again, the master's program, the employment remains similar. Urban planning implies that it's about city planning, like Chandigarh was an example, Bhubaneswar, which was cited earlier, was an example, and large-scale public sector townships like BHEL at Bhopal, BHEL at Haridwar, various townships of NTPC, various townships by different public sectors or private Hiranandani gardens in Mumbai. So all these are urban design and urban planning proficiencies. Conservation architect, this looks at heritage with new light, starts looking at heritage with a perspective of its real, starts looking at heritage as a resource, which, and these, the one on the left is Humayun's tomb, wherein the traditional arts and traditional crafts find a place to make a building utilizable, to prolong the life of a building. So there are specialized conservation consultancy firms. Apart from that, in the government sector, it's Archaeological Survey of India, National Monument Authorities, and certain local development bodies in Ahmedabad also, which tend to employ conservation architects. A master's degree program is conducted at SPAs, SPA Bhopal and SPA Delhi, and Ahmedabad also. The next one is construction manager. Again, it requires a specialized program wherein the people who are more interested to contribute to the quality of construction can take up this particular proficiency. We can see that the quality of construction is quite abysmal in a lot of buildings that we see across in our Indian context. There's a lot which remains to be contributed in terms of construction quality and project management aspects. And here, the multidisciplinary corporate consulting, that means the project managers tend to employ these people. But apart from that, a large chunk of construction firms and the real estate companies tend to employ construction managers because they bring in a lot of value engineering. That means optimization of resources and a lot of value to this, the efficiency. Apart from that, large campuses of corporate campuses, like let's say these Nestle campuses or these ITC campuses, BHEL campuses, they also tend to employ architects, construction managers for their maintenance and facility management services. A lot of facility management services like Vipul Infrastructure, all firms also tend to they look to employ construction managers. Sustainable energy. Now this picture in the background is our campus only, and it is a gold rated building. Rating implies the energy efficiency and the green quotient of a building. So our campus is also a gold rated building. So a lot of these all the government buildings above a certain area are required to be rated now. That means they are to be efficient, energy efficient, they've got to be green. So most of the large scale public projects now are employing sustainable architects, people who specialize in green technologies and energy efficiency. A lot of construction company, a lot of corporate sector which is looking at CSR activities also tends to look upon these kind of professionals, sustainable architects who specialize in sustainable development. There is a BIM, Building Information Modeling System. This is a software-driven, IT-enabled, has an IT interface wherein a building is modeled before it's constructed. So all the services and everything is simulated to ascertain if there is any kind of conflict. And there's a clash detection feature also there. So all these multidisciplinary activities that we talked about, the electrical specialist, the HVAC consultant specialist, the facade consultant specialist, all these people built on virtually to a BIM model, which is then tested for its efficiency and also to resolve conflicts. And only the high-end consulting firms or very small high-end design firms, or even a lot of IT firms who are working into applications for smart cities, who are looking into virtual technologies, who are looking into the virtual reality and this. Okay, they are looking at these things, and it finds a lot of application for the facility management firms because they're able to generate data which enables them to devise a regimen for maintenance. There's a career in digital animation and photography. A lot of not a lot of, but a substantial number of architecture graduates are interested in technology. A few of them tend to diversify and move on to digital animation as well, wherein they also, and I'm sure that all of you would also have seen a lot of these animations of these townships which are yet to be built. You are virtually transported, teleported onto a site wherein you can move around, and a lot of this is available on the website also. Another very interesting domain, which is a very emerging domain, is where the architecture grads are now going, is about the set design and production design. A few of the Harry Potter films have engaged architects to devise these kind of digital scenarios for them. For them. So these are all digitally mastered versions, and a lot of these futuristic films tend to employ architects or people who can devise these future cities and do that. And to the right is the film city. So these are also areas. Why? Because this is also about comprehending built environment. So built environment using our future technologies, you can see that to the left, there are a lot of things that we are just talking about. They've been included into this animation in this production design. So that means key things can be imagined in future and they can be projected onto the present. And to the right is something which is real time used for shooting. This is Ramoji City in Hyderabad, wherein we are creating all these things to shoot, to be able to shoot films. And of course, architecture journalism. And last but apart from that, there is a very specialized domain again, which is that after studying architecture, we all understand that in all these urban areas, there's a proliferation of building. There are too many buildings. So there's an additional vocation now with the increasing consciousness. People are asking architects and interior designers now to do their building interiors. So the spaces that we are seeing in are design spaces which are executed through multiple agencies as well. So interior design is a very happening and very thriving domain wherein a lot of architects are able to find opportunities, and a lot of institutions, including our Amity University, Rajasthan, are running full-time 4-year programs to teach interior design as a full-fledged undergrad course. The second aspect, people tend to also specialize in furniture design. These are furniture designs where master architects, which were done long time back, and now also there are a lot of architects who are moving on to furniture design and accessory design. A lot of them move on to graphic design, and something similar to what I am doing now. They can also opt for teaching or research jobs, and can become professors at teaching institutions. To the right, we are seeing one of the earliest architecture colleges. This is the kind of environment which is there when we work, when we learn and teach together in a studio. And this is the kind of researching into structural systems which may be used for buildings. So this briefly helps us comprehend that how we can, what are the different domains through which we can contribute to the built environment. So we understand that we can do it virtually. Now there are two things here. One is about our career prospects. These are the kind of avenues, these are the kind of opportunities wherein we can find engagement and find occupation and career there. So what we are saying is that there are a lot of proficiencies which tend to develop postgraduate, after completion of the graduation studies, which enables our students to get into a lot of creative fields. I think this would be very visible by the presentation up till now, right? Why? Because it's very the education is very multidisciplinary in nature. It creates a lot of different skill sets within us. Let's say, for instance, graphics, visual presentation, digital, energy simulation, so many skills. So we can all choose our own domains and tend to specialize in our area of interest and contribute in that particular domain. How do we get into doing our studies on architecture? We are allowed to use the title of an architect only after we do a architecture course, which that means an undergrad course in architecture. To get into architecture program, academic program, the examination happens at the competition. Examination happens at 2 plus 10 plus 2 stage, and at least 50% aggregate marks in PCM is required. Also, 50% aggregate of all subjects is required. And if someone is in diploma, then mathematics as a compulsory subject with at least 50% marks will also enable one to study architecture course. Apart from this, any student who's seeking entrance to any architecture college has to qualify an aptitude test in architecture, which can be conducted by different agencies. The IIT entrance programs also does conduct it. But then the Council of Architecture, which is a statutory authority which looks into the education of architecture, they also conduct an examination. I hope you must have heard about it, which goes by the name of NATA. It was scheduled on the 19th of April, but given the situation, the dates have been rescheduled and haven't been re-intimated. That also is one of the tests that can be taken to seek admission to architecture program. The academic program, very briefly, we understand what do the architects do. There are basically the four components. There are professional core courses, then there are building science and applied engineering courses, which I was calling technology earlier. Then there are elective courses wherein we start looking at our areas of interest. We can start looking at green technologies. We can start looking at energy simulation. We can start looking at barrier-free, I mean, key universal design, and then professional ability enhancement course, which is language courses, which is almost mandatory in certain programs, which enables our presentability and communication skills. So these are the four basic categories. The professional core courses are about 45%, and the building science and applied engineering is about 20%, elective courses is 15%, and professional ability is another 20%. And this is a brief breakup of the core courses, wherein the design principles and elements of design and drawing, this constitutes a major aspect of the coursework. Building materials, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, surveying, and geology. These are the engineering, the technology-based things. These are the electives which are very interesting: climate and energy studies to make the buildings green, man, environment, and sustainability studies, and climate and energy studies to make the buildings more energy efficient, to make the energy buildings more responsive to the environment, to make the buildings more environmentally sensitive, and to learn from history of architecture through settlement study. The next package is about interior design and the furniture design. Then there is a portion of cutting edge drafting, rendering, and analysis softwares, and another hands-on thing about material workshop and laboratories. That means the construction material. The students do adopt a hands-on approach and engage in construction activities on small scale, experimental scale on the campus only, and lighting laboratory, which helps us understand the internal and external lighting. Cutting edge drafting, which includes the building modeling BIM, building information modeling system, rendering systems, which makes the building look real, analysis softwares. We can do energy simulation as to what will be the thermal performance of a building. We also, now we come to our own institution also, Amity School of Architecture and Architecture at Amity University of Rajasthan. The Amity School of Architecture and Planning is also offering these courses. Amity University, a brief introduction had been given to you earlier, and you're already aware of this. Just to add to this, we are there rated in the National Institutional Ranking Framework, and we are a constituent of the Amity School of Architecture and Planning, works under the aegis of Amity University, Rajasthan. It does have 3 educational programs. The 2 of these are undergrad programs. We run a Bachelor of Architecture program, which happens after the 12th, or 3-year diploma, as I had stated earlier. It's a 5-year program and a 10-semester program. It includes a unique thing, which includes about a semester of training in the architect's office. That means a hands-on experience to working in an office is imparted to the student, so that he learns the ropes of the trade. He learns how to do work in a professional setup. And the 10th semester usually, this happens normally after 3 years. After third year, the foundational courses are over and the students are considered to be eligible to do some internship work in offices. They go to offices, work there for the entire seventh semester at this particular time, come back, do some advanced level A program with design projects, advanced level construction projects, and the 10th semester is a thesis, which is a major input. The entire learning of 4.5 years is supposed to be demonstrated in this particular project. It's like a capstone project. Bachelor of Interior Design is again a very unique course, and this has really come in response to the market forces. There is a lot of demand of people who can do interior design. A lot of buildings, commercial buildings, office buildings, even residences have now chosen to employ interior designers to get their interiors done. They have been able to understand the efficiency that architecture or interior design graduates have been able to bring to the effective utilization of space. So Bachelor of Interior Design is a 4-year program, 8 years, 8 semester program, and this also has 1 semester of internship. Apart from that, we've got a PhD program in architecture which can be undertaken by scholars on a full-time or a part-time basis. And the thrust here in the PhD program, which is also a thrust in the research that we undertake in our department, is on sustainable architecture, different dimensions of green architecture, energy efficient architecture, heritage in architecture for South Asia, architecture for the Indian context, architectural heritage. These are the programs that we are running at our institute. And the unique things of our program is that being a university system, we do have a flexibility wherein students can register and conduct a choice-based credit system, wherein students can register for courses according to their interest, which goes under the track of open electives or minor tracks. There is a provision of a minor track also in a 5-year degree program, which is almost unique. Almost all the students do also tend to learn one foreign language, and there are a lot of options: Spanish, French, and many other languages. Then there are value-added courses as personality development courses, and we follow the outcome-based learning system, wherein each of the program, that means each academic program, like B.Arch, has their own learning objectives, and BID has their learning objectives, and each of the courses are designed in a manner so that the learning feeds into the learning outcomes of a program. For the placement, we do have a corporate research cell which is headed by a director level person, and the academic programs that we do run our B.Arch program is approved by the Council of Architecture. We also have a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Indian Institute of Architects. We are accredited by the Institute of Interior Designers, and our Amity University of Rajasthan also has entered into many MOUs with foreign countries. Very recently, we've had about eight universities at our campus from Australia seeking admissions, wherein students from Amity were provided a privileged entry to their programs. Thank you. So, if there are any questions.
Yeah.
All right. Should I answer the question straight off, or you'd like to briefly?
No, so you can start answering the question straight away.
Right. At this point in time, I can see one question: what are the placement opportunities at Amity? Also, would like to know about how you upgrade your curriculum according to the industry need. We do have a CRC cell. I just spoke it at the end. We do have a corporate placement cell, which is headed through a director, which has a broad interface with the industry and a broad outreach in the industry. We work together. Uh, we are able to share our resources in the architecture and the interior design fraternity with the CRC team, who does the outreach program, endeavors to bring them to the campus, or else enable them, our students, to send their portfolio to these respective firms and pursue their employment at these agencies. So that means there's a standalone agency which is looking after placement of the students in the industry. A lot of time, what also happens is that the students are offered a lot of help to seek internship in the seventh semester. A lot of time, when the students are able to perform well, they choose to get back to the same office again. Quite a lot of them do tend to do this also. So I think that's another one. And the third is that we are also constantly in touch with our alumni, and we've asked them ki, in case you have any need of professionals, then you can always get back to us on priority, so that our students can have a prioritized career prospect in their office. Apart from that, for the fresh graduates, if there are openings wherein experienced people are required, we also tend to share information with our alumni as well. So that means we are looking after not only the students who are presently at our institute, but we are also constantly in touch with the alumni to help them offer jobs to our students or to seek employment themselves at agencies where experience is required. The second part of the question is, how do we upgrade our curriculum according to the industry need? There are two institutions which are involved here. One is we've got a team with industry interface committee, wherein we've got the representatives from the industry who come to our university. Our university are part of the committee, and we are constantly in touch with these people who advise us on how to enhance our responsiveness to the industry need. Based on those inputs, we've got a course committee, we've got a board of studies, and the board of studies and the findings of the industry interface committee is also presented in this board of studies meet after inputs by the internal faculty members and the internal team. We work out solutions. This is then presented to the board of studies, and once it's approved, taken to the academic council, which finally, after their suggestions, endorse it, so as to ensure that most of the syllabi is very content-free. So I guess this answers the question first. The second is this okay, I guess? The second is, can we do the Bachelor of Interior Design after completing the course of B.Arch? Obviously, we can do it, but once you do B.Arch, mostly I don't think there is a need to do a Bachelor of Interior Design course. If at all further studies are required or special studies would be required, then there would be specialized programs at a postgraduate level. So though there's nothing which stops one from doing a Bachelor of Interior Design program after completion of the B.Arch, it may not be too advisable to do it. But on the other hand, if there is someone who's done a diploma course elsewhere, they can definitely take up a Bachelor of Interior Design program or else a B.Arch program again. Okay, so that's the answer to the question number 2. Career opportunity interior designing. I've been telling it to you. I think you would have seen that there's a proliferation of buildings in all these metropolises, state capitals, and class 1 and tier 1 and tier 2 cities. If I'm saying tier 1 and tier 2 cities, I'm also talking about, let's say, I'm not talking only about Jaipur in Rajasthan or Bhopal in MP. I'm like Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore. I think with the kind of buildings that have been done, the corporate structures, the office buildings, the retail buildings which have been done, there is an exploding scope of interior design professionals, because now with the buildings ready, they need to be inhabited, and the interior design professionals are the people who do this. So you can also under the second thing is that interior design profession depends on renewability also. So you know that in case we are talking about hotels, you'll be aware also possibly that depending on the kind of hotel they are, maybe every year or twice a year or thrice a year or four times, or after 2 years, 3 years or 4 years, the interior keeps on changing. So any kind of public space, let's say a restaurant, let's say office space, they age with time, and after some time, the interior needs to be undertaken again. So what I'll say is that interior design is also replenishable. That means after doing it once, we do it again, and this can be you can very easily comprehend it in our own residences also, the place where we stay. Maybe the bed would change, maybe the drawing room decor would change. It happens with the passage of time, but it happens most of the kinds of buildings. We've included residential, we've included restaurants, we've included retail. That means we are talking about Bada Bazaar, Citizen, we are talking about Walmarts, we are talking about all these shops, Bata shops, we are talking about Nike shops, we are talking about all these shops, and all these interiors have to be done. So there is exploding potential of interior design programs, I think. Interior design program, accessory design, and furniture design. I think there's a tremendous opportunity here. Are there any more questions?
So I don't think we have any more questions presently. Maybe I will request all the participants, if you have any question, please go ahead and ask the questions. Meanwhile, what I will do, sir, with your due permission, I'll just, brief the student about where to fill the online application forms.
Sure.
So any student who is, willing to take admission in any of our programs, be it in architecture or any other stream also. In architecture, as sir has just presented, we have two courses, Bachelor of Architecture and Bachelor of Interior Designing. So any student who is desirous of taking admission in any of the program at Amity University, Rajasthan, can go to our website, amity.edu/Jaipur, right? So this will take the student to our website. In the website, students have the option of going through the details of each and every program that is on the offer. The detail will also contain the fee structure of the program, and as well as semester-wise course detail, which a student is going to study in the next duration of the uh, courses, right? So what the student has to
Yes.
do, go to our website and fill online application form. The cost of the form is rupees 1100 only. Once the application form is filled, we will register those application form online, and then for undergraduate program, the student has to go through a process of SOP. SOP is what? SOP is called Statement of Purpose. So a student has to record a 1-minute video on their mobile, and in that particular video, the student will be talking about themselves, their career, goals, hobbies, interest, from where they have done their education, etc., so that a faculty can, go through that video and assess the communication skill and the personality and interest level of the student, right? So that SOP the student has to send to us, and then the result will be declared online, and the fees also can be paid online. So it's a complete online process that we have, created for the benefit of our desirous students and parents, right? Right. As I, I've been telling to all the students and parents, this is, the pandemic phase, right? We are going through a very difficult time, but having said that, this phase also gives us some positives as well. We have to take out the positive. The positive is you are directly connected with our faculties, our directors of the department. They are directly counseling you, number one. Number two, you are sitting at your home along with your parents, so this is the best time to take a very well informed decision in consultation with your parents, right? So go through our website, go through all the programs, and fill online application form, and we are always here at Amity University Rajasthan to assist all the students. So this is what I wanted to say. If any student have any more question, please go ahead and ask. This is the best opportunity for you, wherein the director of Amity School of Architecture and Planning, Dr. Anurag Varma, is very much online to answer all your queries. So I don't think we have any more questions, so you can
All
sum
right.
up the session.
Right, then I think that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much for this opportunity.